Hey guys, Kitch here with GP Knives. Today we're going to do a little bit different video. I'm going to give you guys some tips on how to get your knife sharp, especially if you're a beginner. Stick around. Okay, jumping into the first thing. The first tip I have is to be willing to take some serious time to learn your sharpening system. So whenever you're learning how to sharpen, you don't want to be rushed. It's certainly not something that you want to rush and learn quickly. I did that, ruined some knives that I really shouldn't have. So I've got 5 different kinds of sharpeners laid out here on the table. We're going to go through each one individually and kind of talk about its quirks and how to use them. So the first sharpening device we're going to cover today is the classic tackle box pull through. So this is the kind of sharpener that you use if you're looking for like a real quick and dirty, throw an edge back on it. Super popular with fishermen, hunters, hikers, stuff like that. It's not something that I would really recommend for someone with a high-end EDC pocket knife, or if you're looking to put a really keen edge on your knife. The way it usually works is it pulls carbides out of your blade. That's not the best for edge stability over a long period of time, so it kind of breaks down your edge, makes it a little bit more susceptible to chipping, rolling, stuff like that. Super easy to use though, and if you have a knife that's just kind of like in your tackle box, you got an old Buck 110 laying around, run it through here, it's going to get sharp. It doesn't take that long to learn. There are kind of some quirks though. You want to make sure that you're not pushing too hard whenever you run your knife through it. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just kind of lay it down, stick the knife in there, pull it back to you. You want to make sure that you're rolling to get the tip. It's really easy to use. It's good for real simple sharpening tasks. Once again, not something that I would run like a Sabenza or Umnumzan through though. All right, moving on to our second sharpening device. This is the classic bench stone. I think everybody's grandpa has one of these. They're really good at using them. I'm not that great at it. This is actually one of the things I've ruined a couple knives on. So if you're going to get bench stone, the important thing to remember is that there's no guide. So you have to make sure that you're matching your edge bevel exactly, freehand, every time. Every single swipe needs to be exactly the same, and you're going to work to build a burr on one side, flip it over, run that back again. It takes some time to get good at this one. There's a lot of different kinds of stones out there, and some of them are wet stones, some of them you use dry, some of them are a combination, some of them have 2 grits, a coarse and a fine. Some people buy sets of stones that have 10 stones in it, and they just have them all laid out, and they work it from beginning to end. I'm not really into that, but if you are, and you have a bench stone and you want to learn how to get good at it, the main points I would like to make are to get some kind of guide to start off with, to make sure that you're keeping the same angle, and then just kind of get used to working for a long time with these. These aren't a really quick and dirty sharpening method. This is more like I have an afternoon free, I'm going to sit down and sharpen 1 to 2 knives at once. Okay, moving on to the next sharpener. This is a Spyderco Sharpmaker, and this is probably the best beginner sharpener out there. It's a favorite here at GP Knives. I think all of us have one. We've all used one very extensively. For a long time, it was the only thing I could sharpen my knives on and not mess them up. Now I use it in combination with more advanced sharpeners to just kind of throw a quick edge on there. So if you look at it, it kind of looks like a pull-through because it kind of is. It's a guided system, but it just has 2 triangular rods. You can take them out. You have a flat side and a triangular pointy side. That's to cut the edge into your blade, so that cuts your bevel in, and then the flat side kind of hones it. It comes with 2 different sets of stones, mediums and fines. There's a bunch of different ones available. It's so simple because you just hold it. It's got these nice brass guards so you don't lop off a thumb. And you just start at the base of your blade, run it down to the tip. And as long as you're keeping your blade straight, there's really not anything that can go wrong. In my experience, other than the one time I used it without the guards and stabbed myself in the top of the hand. But we don't talk about that. That didn't happen. So the Sharpmaker is going to be a really good sharpener for someone who's new to sharpening, wants to have the ability to go from, you can get diamond for this. So if you have more advanced knife steels, you can go from diamond all the way down to ultra fine, get a really nice polished edge on your pocket knife, and it's not going to take a lot of time or really a lot of experience. Another really cool kind of bonus about this is that if you are good at using flat stones, this whole thing breaks down to be really compact. But also, you can just kind of flip it over, and if you put these stones in here with the triangle pointy side down, you now have a flat stone. So use it the exact same way. really neat little trick. And then also, like, if you're traveling and you want to take a knife sharpener that's going to be a little bit more advanced than a pull through, it does pack up really well for travel as well. So it's one of my favorite sharpeners. I have one. I've had one for like the last 9 or 10 years. Really suggest this one to anyone starting sharpening that wants a system that can carry them for a long time. Okay, moving on to the next one. So this is my example that I'm using. This one is a Work Sharp Precision Adjust. Basically, this is a guided sharpening system. There's a bunch of those out there, whether it's Lansky, Wicked Edge, Work Sharp Precision Adjust Pro, and then there's several others too. So basically, the difference between this and the other ones that we've covered so far is this one clamps your knife in place. You can set an exact edge bevel that you want, and then it's very easy to use to just kind of work that edge in. This is what I would call more of an advanced knife sharpener. I think that it's going to take more time to learn how to use it, especially setting the angle, stuff like that, especially than something like a Spyderco Sharpmaker that has a set angle already. But if you can learn how to use this, you can learn it as a novice and use that all the way until forever. You can never grow out of this knife sharpener. I think that that's something really cool about it. It's kind of unique to guided sharpeners in general. Once you figure out how to cut a good bevel in, make sure that your edge bevel is even on both sides, it's really easy to use that, and it's really easy to learn extra tips and tricks with just this kind of system to make it kind of a one life, one sharpener type scenario. Okay, the final sharpener I'm going to cover is actually the only one I've ever completely ruined a knife on. This is a Work Sharp. It's a motorized, automatic kind of wheel grinder guy. It's got a little strip here. It's abrasive. They're really easy to use in theory. So they're plugged in. I hit the switch. This thing spins fast. I run my knife down, cuts the bevel in, sharpens it. The problem is that they move really fast, and unless you're really used to it and you have some really cheap knives to practice on first, they're going to take a whole lot of material right here at the end of your knife, right at the ricasso. It's going to basically eat that up before you can have time to move it out of there. So you're going to get a recurve with these if you're not very used to it. It's probably the fastest way to sharpen a knife that isn't like a paper wheel or an actual knife, sharpening grinder. This is pretty close to that. For that reason, I would say that if you're really new to sharpening knives, this might be kind of, intriguing. You might be like, oh, I can sharpen my knife fast. It's what I want. And then you're going to butcher your knives because you didn't take the time to learn it. So I think it's a good sharpener if you know what you're doing, or if you're used to sharpening on some kind of other motorized device. Like there's a lot of people who use just like regular wheel grinders. They put paper wheels on them. If you're used to that kind of thing, you're used to having to move the knife fast, this is awesome. It's a great sharpener for that. If you're brand new to sharpening knives, I've seen a lot of people mess up knives with this, including myself, unfortunately. So, good knife sharpener. It's not one I would recommend to someone just starting out, even though it seems very intriguing and it seems like the one that you'd want to start out with. So, the next tip I have is that whenever you buy a pocket knife, typically, you don't know what angle it's sharpened at. So, if you don't have something in mind, you just want to sharpen it at that factory angle, you're going to need to figure out what that is. And they sell things like this. This one's from NAFS. It's an angle finder. You just place your blade down in there. It has multiple ones to select. You can figure out what angle it's set pretty easy. If you're using a guided sharpening system, the Sharpmaker included, I've done this a lot with that. Kind of the way that I do it is I take a Sharpie or a similar branded magic marker, and I just take this and I run it along the edge of my blade. So you want to make sure that you're covering the whole sharpened part all the way to the edge, from tip to choil. And then, like, this is set at 20 degrees, so 40 degrees inclusive. You just kind of take it and run it down there. And you can kind of see if it's covering or taking off. So that's taking it off to the edge. It looks like this isn't set at exactly 40, so it probably wasn't sharpened at 40 from the factory. But I'm getting to my edge, so that means that it's going to be a little bit different. Not a big deal. You can adjust, keep swiping till all the Sharpie is removed, or if you want to resharpen it to that angle, you just kind of do the same thing. A lot of times, whenever you're reprofiling, your edge is going to still show Sharpie until you get to it, and then you can finally get to your burr on the other side. So you'll be taking off material from the actual flat ground part of the knife and not your bevel to make it meet up at the end. So Sharpie is super important for figuring out what bevel angle you want. And it's also really helpful for people who are new to sharpening and you don't know exactly where you're hitting. You might be kind of like, just sharpening one spot more than the other and not getting to the actual edge of the knife, not getting enough material removed to create the burr on the other side to knock off later. So this is really helpful for new beginners. It's really helpful for me. I wouldn't consider myself an expert, but I've sharpened a lot of knives and I use it every time. So an indisposable tool in the knife sharpener's kit, the magic marker. The last two tips kind of combine into a similar idea. The first thing is you really need to know what a sharp knife feels like. And there's a lot of times that you'll get a knife and you'll sharpen it, you'll run it through your pull through even, and you'll be like, yeah, that's pretty sharp. You use it, and it turns out it wasn't sharp. What happens sometimes is whenever you're removing material from a knife, the way that you do it, especially on like a guided system like the Precision Adjust, is you work to building a burr on one side. So I'm removing material from this knife, and it's kind of folding over and running over the edge onto the other side. Whenever I flip it over, I knock that burr off, and I do the same thing. I remove material, and it builds over to the other side. As you do that, flipping it from side to side, there's going to be a small edge built along the very edge where the sharpener is not hitting, and that's called a wire edge. And it's very fine. It's kind of like obsidian. It's super sharp. Like it will lay you open, it will slice through paper, it'll cut stuff. But as soon as you go to cut something tough like tape or cardboard, it's just going to break off and roll away. It's super brittle. So you'll feel like, oh wow, that's sharp. You'll cut some paper. Awesome, great. And then you'll go to use it and you're like, well man, my knife isn't sharp anymore. What's going on? This steel doesn't hold a very good edge. Oh no. Then you blame the knife, and you don't really kind of blame yourself, as we all tend to do. I've done it several times too. So to make sure that you don't do that, you're going to want to strop it afterwards. And then another thing is whenever you're checking to see if your knife feels sharp, the way that I always do it is I'll pull it off of the sharpener. I kind of feel it. I feel if there's any like wiggle in the edge, because sometimes those wire edges, they're really thin. You can kind of get them to move and break off with your fingers. Then I'll just kind of like hit my nail with it, and if it doesn't move anywhere, it doesn't slide, skip, I can feel it cutting into my nail. I know that I've cut a good solid bevel in there. Another thing that most knife guys do, you see us walking around, we're missing patches of hair from our arms. That's us shaving to see if it's sharp. You can do that too. A wire edge sometimes will still shave though. So moving on to the next one is once you get your knife sharp, you're going to want to keep it sharp and don't let it get super dull. Especially if you're dealing with super steels, M390, 20CV, stuff like that can be kind of hard to sharpen, especially once it's really dull. Even something like D2, a simple, kind of carbon steel like that, it's going to be hard to get an edge back on it if you let it get completely butter knife dull. The way to combat that is you get a strop. So I have my strop here. This one is kind of backed. It's a paddle style strop. If you have a convex edge, something we didn't talk about today, but an edge that's kind of rolled over isn't a bevel, and you want to use a flexible strap to get to that, we have one of those here too. So what I always do is I just kind of start at the choil and I run to the tip. And if you have a sharpening system like the WorkSharp Precision Adjust Pro, it comes with a paddle strap that you can kind of use. So basically I'm going side to side and I'm going one swipe per side, and that's going to knock any wire edge off of there. So that gets me a good sharp, clean cutting edge that feels sharp, kind of like wants to like grab at your fingerprints. That's why whenever you see like, you like hand a knife to like an old timer and they're like doing this, they're like, oh, how do you know the knife's sharp? It's like, it's cutting into me almost. It's super scary. So make sure that you strop it, make sure you know it feels sharp, and you will have a pocket knife with an edge that can work hard and won't be super brittle. All right, so this was a little bit different kind of video. This one was a little bit more in-depth. Let me know if you guys want to see more stuff like this. And then we covered a lot of info. We didn't cover everything. So if you guys have any questions, make sure you guys hit the comments down below. Don't be afraid to ask questions. We'll get back to you. Other members of the knife community will get back to you. Get your questions answered. Catch you guys next week.